and shifting. And that's what we really want to focus on is that shift and being aware of when you're in that state of fear or that state of ego or that state of, in the mind and the memories of the past, and noticing when you're there and being able to do that breathing technique that Kevin just taught us, to be able to shift to a state of heart or spirit or love to experience that expansion.
Welcome back to the Healing Works podcast. Good to be with you today. Good to be with you today.
Good to be with you.
Good to be with you today.
I think you do that.
It's always good to be with y'all, but I guess I'm from the South now, y'all. If you're from the South, then I reckon. No, great to be with you here today. Want to talk about a couple things today on the podcast. One is difference between being a host to heart or spirit. And we'll talk the difference, heart and spirit, same thing, but then the difference between host to heart and spirit and a hostage to ego or mind. And then how that correlates between living in the past or living from inspiration.
Yes.
Right, co-host?
Absolutely. Very right.
No, but very interesting topics. We've talked a little bit about that and touched on it in a couple different episodes, but really wanted to, in our studies and a couple calls we had this week, really wanted to dive deep into the differences between host to heart and spirit or hostage to ego and mind, and how that relates to our daily life, either making us live from the memories of the past or living from inspiration and creation.
Yeah, and I think as we're wrapping up here in 2022, I mean, by the time this podcast launches, we will be into 2023, but, all very similar time frames. But, we want to set our, I know that New Year's resolutions gets a bad rap, but maybe more New Year's intentions for 2023, to live in more of that state of inspiration rather than the memories of the past. So we'll talk about what that means and give you some ideas on how to switch that.
Yeah, because you will hear this, like she said, in 2023, and a lot of us set goals, but we really need to start setting intentions and living by not only intention, but inspiration, because it's such a different state. So why is it different? Right? Let's dive in. Why is it different?
Why is it different? You mean then from living from memories from the past?
Yeah.
So, when we look at living from memories from the past, I keep getting in trouble for my cord and my mic. You can keep that, Mal. It's fine. This is real life situations. When we're living from memories of the past, then we aren't open to new ideas and new discoveries and new things to see and experience in life. And we get stuck in these loops of thinking and feeling the same experience over and over again. And one way that I heard it described, in some of the research that I've done, is a memory is kind of like a file on a computer. And when you delete it, it doesn't go away. It goes maybe into the trash bin or the recycle bin, and it's still on the computer. You just can't see it anymore. And I was like, that's a really good analogy for memories of the past that are there. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind, but they're stored in the body. And that's why the work that we do, we find it so imperative to address not only the memories in the mind and those neural connections and pathways there, but also the memories in the heart and address the neurons there. That's the heart math discovery. Right.
Well, and what happens too when you're living by the memories of the past is typically, if we like look at the makeup of the subconscious, right? Talked about that a couple times, but the makeup of the subconscious is 70% of the programs in the subconscious are self-sabotaging, limiting, or negative, right? And then you look at your thoughts per day and, 60,000 thoughts, but 80% of them are negative. Well, anytime you're in a negative thought pattern, which would reflect a negative emotion, you're operating from the subconscious. So any memory is going to come from the subconscious. And what does that do in the moment is it shuts off your conscious awareness and you're operating purely by auto programs. And so if it's a good memory, that could be great. But if it's, memory of a resentment or frustration or why something didn't work out or, most of the things we think of most of the day in a negative fashion, it's going to not only cause that cortical inhibition in the brain, meaning that frontal cortex is shut off. So all your inspiration, all your imagination, all your creativity is not functioning at the moment. You're purely going off of memories from the past. You're not going to create anything new in that moment, right? Because we're always creating in every moment of every day.
Right.
And if we're mainly rehashing the memories of the past because that's what we've been conditioned to do, that makes it very, very difficult to create new programs, new memories, be in the present moment to create those new memories, right? That joyful part of life that I think eludes a lot of us.
Mm-hmm. I one thing that I found interesting too that I heard in listening to that book Zero Limits that I was listening to, one thing they said was we've heard just with the stuff that we've studied on the heart and the brain and the correlation and the nervous system and the conscious and the subconscious mind. And, we teach these things and how fast the conscious mind can process and how fast the subconscious mind processes and this percentage of time you spend in the subconscious mind and the percentage you spend in the conscious mind and all of that. But the way that he presented it was that made so much sense to me that I was like, no wonder why we just default to the program because there's so much going on. But when he was saying that there's just millions of bits per second to process in our environment, in the world, around us through our senses, through what we see and what we smell and what we touch and taste and feel. And there's so much information coming in. We really don't have the ability to comprehend it all because the conscious awareness is processing it 4 bits per second and the information is coming in at millions of bits per second. And so it really makes sense then that when it's presented that we're either living from the memories of the past or inspiration is literally just being in that present moment and taking it all in with no attachments, no expectation. And you are literally just in the present moment in that state of balance that we are working on attaining. And I'm like, it's not even possible to really comprehend what's going on. And so you can see how people default to the program to try to grasp, to make sense of what's going on. But if you're really trying to do that, the only thing you can do is default to the program, to your program that's been set with your memories and beliefs of the past and try to make sense of it that way. And it just seems to me, when I think about it, I'm like, that just seems like a chaotic mess, I don't know. Is that
which is why it causes confusion. Mm-hmm. And then you're searching for memories and you're searching for rationale and logic and why this is and why that is, which takes you out of the present moment and keeps you stuck in the past.
Well, it makes sense
right?
that people are continually frustrated or continually fearful or continually
right.
Angry because that is so much going on. That is so much like stimulation. It seems that, to me, I appreciate that because I'm like, that's what I gravitate towards is letting it all go and just seeing what happens. And sometimes that comes off a little maybe apathetic or irresponsible. But I'm like, how can you possibly make sense of all of it? So then that's what you're left with is to really just live by that inspiration and see what comes to you and what, makes sense and how to take the next step forward and really enjoy the process of it. I don't know. It just made a lot of sense to me that way.
Well, yeah, because like you alluded to, or like you said, is that like the conscious awareness, your conscious mind can only process at 4 bits a second versus the subconscious can process at 40 million bits per second. So the subconscious is so much faster, but that's why it's so easy in a world of chaos, meaning all of that information flooding to us, to default to those auto programs, because the subconscious is that much faster at reading that input and everything like that. Not everything like that, but processing that information. And that's where the reactions come from, right? That's why it's so easy when there's chaos and traffic to react in a frustrated manner, get angry at things, or, when there's crowds of people, when things are very, very busy, it tends to agitate people because chaos, and then you default to programs and frequencies that'll match that chaos like we've talked about before. And it just makes it's easier to do that, right? It's harder to stay calm in the storm, but that's that state of heart coherence where you shift to the heart, let the heart run the show, open up the higher cognitive functions of the brain, really amplify that conscious energy. Now you have both electromagnetic fields expanded of your heart and brain. Now you're communicating with the quantum field, with the living field that surrounds us, and you can tap into that inspiration, because I believe that inspiration is divine inspiration, right? Divine intuition. But that all comes first mainly to the heart, right? Because of the difference in power of the electromagnetic fields. And so with the heart's field being expanded and that much more powerful than the brain's, it's able to sense things, right? I mean, even the holistic psychologist now is on board with heart math, saying, in her excerpt of her new book, saying that the heart can sense things about 4 seconds before the brain even knows what's going on, because we talked about that a little on a previous episode, but because of the difference in the electromagnetic field power, right? The heart's electromagnetic field expands about 3 to 5 feet outside the body. What we can measure, the brain's is only 1 inch outside the head. So when you're using the full capabilities of heart, nervous system, and mind together, that's how we start living from that inspired state. And when you look at that inspired state, living from inspiration means that we don't see anything but that inspiration, meaning we don't see the roadblocks, we don't see the downfalls, we don't see the things that could get in our way. We just see the end in mind. And that inspiration is what really adds to life and really makes life joyful.
Yeah, and we let go of the judgments of how we think things should go, or how do we make sense of this? Is this a blessing? Is this a block? Is this a curse? Is this a punishment? And we just let it be, and we can see the purpose in all of it. And that really is that state of inspiration and being a host to spirit or to heart, where you can experience that positivity no matter what's going on in the world around you.
Right. It makes perfect sense when you look at, why they refer to it. And the first person I heard refer to hostage to ego was Wayne Dyer, right? Love Wayne Dyer's work. But when he said hostage to ego, and then in researching and certifying with heart math and really diving into, some neurophysiology and neuroscience and things like that, like, well, why don't we want to be a hostage to ego? Well, one is because ego comes from a closed off state, right? Comes from logic only. And so when we're operating from ego, like we just talked about, you're going to shut off that frontal cortex. Your heart rate variability will be in a negative pattern, which will be a very chaotic pattern, matching the chaos that surrounds you. And you're only working with willpower and determination, right?
Yeah, and when you talk about ego, some people think that it's just like, you're so self-centered or egotistical, but ego is the mind versus the heart. Right. It's logic versus spirit. It's the need to defend or attack, or if you feel attacked, then you've got to protect. And so when you analyze or reflect on the situation that you're in and how you're feeling, if you are feeling attacked or you're feeling like you need to defend yourself, then you can bet that you're an ego and trying to figure things out logically, because in the state of love and in the state of heart and in the state of spirit, there is no need to defend or attack, because everything that's coming into you, into your awareness, is information, and there's no judgment toward it. There's, it's met with the love that you're experiencing in the spirit that you are, and there is no need to defend that. So that's a good way to kind of self-reflect and go, am I being a hostage to ego, or am I being a host to spirit? How am I receiving the information or the feedback that I'm getting right now? Is it making me feel like I have to defend myself? Because spirit wouldn't need to do that.
Right. Am I in a state of peace, or am I in a state of like frustration or agitation? Right. And then boom, on the defense, like you just said. And that, you're not going to, it just doesn't go very well. I mean, everyone that's listening to this can analyze relationships or circumstances or situations at home or work, or, at gyms or churches, wherever you go, that when you are on the defense and in that state of ego, it will always, not always, but typically ends in an argument, right? Mm-hmm. Typically ends in one party not feeling very great, or both parties not feeling very great, versus, operating from a place of heart. Even if, you come to me and you have some discrepancies, or you have some, things that have hurt your feelings or something like that, that coming from a place of compassion, or coming from a place of love or care or kindness, that doesn't need to be defended. Mm-hmm. Right? Understanding.
Or courage, to move forward in a relationship that you feel like you might be vulnerable in. Or
gratitude for what is. Mm-hmm. But from those states, I mean, obviously the state of ego and logic's not going to open you up to new possibilities. You're just going to go off the default memories and programs of the past and repeat the same thing over and over and over again, versus shifting to heart. And that's the state of heart coherence. You can do that simply in the moment. It's called the quick coherence technique, mm-hmm. by taking a deep breath, 5 seconds in through the nose, 7 seconds out through the mouth, focusing in the heart, inciting a feeling of, easiest ones to feel, like we've said before, gratitude, appreciation, compassion, or care for someone, someplace, or something. Shift your physiology in the moment, and then from a place of heart and a place of spirit, respond from a place of compassion or understanding or peace and kindness.
I think let's do that really fast. And anyone that's listening to this can practice it, whether you're driving or sitting at the office or whatever, wherever you may be listening to this. If you let's just do that for 5 seconds really fast, and 7 seconds, and just take a deep breath in. Just you
walking through it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the quick coherence technique. It's just heart focused breathing. So what we're going to do, close your eyes. If you want to put a hand on your heart, if that's comfortable for you, that the visceral touch helps direct energy, but take a 5-second inhale through the nose. About a 5 to 7 second exhale through the mouth. But we focus the attention in the area of the heart. As you keep breathing in this rhythmic fashion, 5 seconds in through the nose, about 5 to 7 seconds out through the heart or through the mouth, we imagine that the breath is flowing in and out of the heart or chest area as we start breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Now that you're breathing in this calm fashion, we calm the nervous system down. Now let's make an intentional, sincere attempt to feel an elevated heart-focused emotion, one of gratitude, appreciation, compassion, or care for someone, someplace, or something in your life. A friend, a loved one, a pet, a recent accomplishment, someone, someplace, or something that can incite a little gratitude, appreciation, compassion, or care.
Feels nice.
Yep. But that shift in that moment, like, I feel better.
Yeah, that was good. That was good
But
for
that
us.
shift in that moment, and you can do it for 30 seconds, 60 seconds. It doesn't have to be very long. I don't even know how long that was. Do you know how long that was? Mel could tell us. But but just taking 30 seconds before answering a phone call, before sending an email, a response to an email, before responding to a text, before having a conversation, before anything, will help shift you from that hostage of ego to that host to spirit and heart. And when you do that, I mean, not only do we show extreme physiological responses in the body, in that 30 seconds, you just balance your nervous system. Instead of producing cortisol and adrenaline, you're now producing DHEA, human growth hormone, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, regenerative hormones. But the body's in a calm state. Now you access your higher cognitive functions. You clear that mental fog. You have clear thought, clear intention. You activate heart intuition. And you can really come from a place of peace, but not only peace, but extreme coordination, extreme power in the best way possible. Not in the ego power,
Right.
but power as far as what energy the body, the nervous system are producing now in this heart-brain coherent state. And we measure it, and the energy's off the charts. Because in this state, your electromagnetic field of your heart and brain are expanded. And the larger your field is expanded, the more energy you're producing, the more wave you are than particle, or energy than matter. Now you are literally communicating, your electromagnetic field's communicating with, you can call it the spiritual realm, you can call it the quantum field, you can call it the energetic field that surrounds the earth, that in the universe, everywhere we measure.
Well, yeah, and you're shifting really from fear to love. And, we've all experienced people who are in the different states, those who are expanded, like you were just explaining and describing, where they walk into the room and their energy is so powerful, and it has such an impact and really sets the tone for the room in a really positive way. And then you see, the opposite, where people are, I mean, sometimes it's a bad vibe, but a lot of times it's just more like, shrunken field, where it just is like kind of trying to hide and feeling protective. Like you have to protect your heart when people have hunched shoulders, and it's like protecting that heart energy center, and they just feel like they have to guard and protect themselves. It's very small and tight,
Right?
Rather than, I was just going to do expansion, but Kevin makes fun of me when I
No,
do that,
I think it's great, but I like how many times you do it.
I mean, I talk about this stuff all day long, so I do repeat a lot of the same things. But, in shifting, and that's what we really want to focus on is that shift, and being aware of when you're in that state of fear, or that state of ego, or that state of, in the mind and the memories of the past, and noticing when you're there, and being able to do that breathing technique that Kevin just taught us, to be able to shift to a state of heart or spirit or love, to experience that expansion. And really what it does is, it corrects the errors, if you will. I don't care for the word sin. I feel like people walk around in their lives in a state of shame and unworthiness and worthlessness, feeling that they have sinned or they have done something wrong. But just the lack of balance, or the absence of balance, is just error, really.
Right.
And love is what corrects that. And so for people who are religious, maybe it's, source, or for Christianity, maybe it's Christ and that Christ energy, or atonement, or whatever it is, for your interpretation. It's the vibrational frequency of love, and that's what restores balance. So if you're out of balance, it's really just a matter of correcting that, and it's the vibrational frequency of love that does that. So when you start to learn how to utilize that on your own and be able to shift, we go from feeling so shameful or condemned, if you will, or that it's never going to get any better, living from the memories of the past, and correct that with that state of heart and spirit and love. And we go from living from the memories of the past to living in that state of inspiration and expansion. And it just brings so much more peace and harmony and balance to your life.
Right. And we're talking to a client this morning, in a session, and we started talking about living from inspiration. And so her and I were talking about how, when you had to leave the room for a second to check on Brooklyn, but we were talking about how many times during the day, like this was the homework this week. And for those that are listening, do it this week, is take a piece of paper and put a check mark, however you want. Keep track how many times you go to memories from the past throughout the day. How many times you let something frustrate you, how many times you shift to that, or you're in that hostage to ego, how many times, do you get annoyed or you do get bugged, and not saying that, anyone's perfect, but the point is to have those happen less and less and less as we continue, right? And live our best life. And so living our best life would mean that we're living from inspiration and living from joy and peace and happiness. And so when you start to analyze and start to pay attention to how many times you get frustrated or how many times you get anxious or resentful or, whatever they are, how many times you give your power away to people. When we say give your power, it's because you're shrinking your field and letting someone else diminish that power within you by making you, by you allowing yourself to shift to that hostage to ego. But just take notice this week or next, at least a couple days, if not 7 days, of how many times throughout the day you're spending in that state, or you at least consciously notice. But in those moments, if you implement that quick coherence technique, you can shift really quickly back to host to heart and spirit, and really come from a different standpoint and open yourself back up to inspiration and really let life flow.
Yeah. And by doing that, you're addressing, so the memories of the past aren't just stored in the neurons in the brain, but also the neurons in the heart. And so when you shift from the mind to heart, from ego to spirit, it addresses both of those. So, traditional maybe ways of trying to heal past memories and traumas, of working through them and might not be as effective if you're not incorporating the memories in the heart.
Well, it won't be as effective.
Yeah. I'm just trying to not be so definitive. I'm trying to let people, come
it
to
could
their
be
own.
more effective.
I don't ever want to be too dogmatic about, anything really, but it's quite possible that, it might be more effective based on all the studies they've done, the thousands of studies they've done, that is where the healing takes place. And so
from heart, because that's where love stems from.
Exactly. And that's the connection point to the creator, to the source that created you. And if there was a power that created you, certainly that power has the ability to heal. And so when you're plugged in that way, that's your connection point. And then it can heal both the memories in the heart, the memories in the mind, and then resets you to a different state of being. And that is taking you out of the memories of the past, which is survival. That's human nature. But that's why, in religious script, that's why they said the natural man is the enemy to God, or however you want to interpret that, because that's us trying to figure it out with our own minds. And we're not plugged into that source that can heal. And I think that's what takes us out of being the natural man and into the divinity that we are. And that is just total wholeness, total balance and harmony. And so it's really normal to be in that state of ego and memories of the past. And so to learn how to manage that and become aware of it and start shifting that, and paying attention, it starts to become really empowering to be aware of it and then have the tools to implement to be able to switch it with intention.
Right. And then when you're living from that, life is just better. It just is not bombarded by all the negativity and everything like that, but living from peace and joy and living in that state and being present in the moment. I think we miss out on so much. Like even I look back at, 10 years ago and it's like, or the times in my life where I just was on autopilot because I didn't like what was going on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, holy cow. There is so much to be said by living in the present moment, but that is living from a heart-brain coherent state. Mm-hmm. Living in an open, loving, caring, kind state where you're open to possibility, open to potentials, and you're really just inspired on doing better and better every day and finding those things that make you, drive your passion and make you excited, and you're doing those things and you're helping other people, and as I'm waving my hands like this.
He's really serious about this.
I am.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good, and I think it just brings a lot of hope. For me, it feels hopeful. It feels hopeful for humanity.
Right.
That correction is possible. That you're not bad. That you're not unworthy. But that things just need to be identified, to be corrected, and it's really simple, and is attainable by all of us.
So remember, practice that quick coherence technique this week. 5 seconds into the nose, 5 to 7 seconds out to the mouth. That's heart-focused breathing. Focus that attention in the area of your heart. Shift in the moment. Shift back from hostage and, being a hostage to ego to a host to heart and spirit. And watch your day change. Thank you for listening to the Healing Works podcast, where we impact lives by healing your heart so you can live your best life.